And welcome to Technology Tap. This is Professor JRod. On today's show, we're going to talk about the Network Plus exam and the type of questions that they have, similar to our last episode when we did a bunch of A+ questions. This time it's going to be about Network Plus. Let's get to it. All right, on our last episode, what we did, I sent everyone to my website where I had put up a bunch of questions about A+, and kind of trying to give you a strategy on how you will tackle the A+ exam. So in this episode, we're going to do it the same thing, but for the Network Plus. This strategy is still the same, where the number one strategy is what? Actually read the question. That's the biggest. Now, some questions, the answer is going to be in the clue is going to be in the question. Some are going to be straight out. So either you know it or you don't know it, right? I mean, there's just some things you're just going to have to learn on your own, right? And memorize. And the best way, at least one of the best ways for memorization is to writing, I like to write things down and keep writing it until I memorize it, like the port numbers. So again, if you go to my website, ProfessorJRod.com, and you click on, I think it's the More button, you're going to see underneath that CompTIA Questions Networking. And you go in there, and there's 4 questions. Right? So let's go through it. First question is, a network administrator has created a virtual machine in the cloud. The technician would like to connect to the server remotely using RDP. Which of the following default ports needs to be opened? Right? So what basically is asking you is, what port number is RDP? And RDP is remote desktop, for those of you who don't know. Right? What's the answer? Well, you have 4 choices. 445, 3389, 5004, and 506. And the answer is what? B, 3389. Right? So this is, like I said before, this is a question straight out. Either you know it or you don't know it. Right? And at this point, if you're in Network Plus, you should have already memorized all the ports, because for the most part, the most commonly used ports, you memorize in A+. So if you have a good memory, you should know that RDP, remote desktop, is B3389. So this is one of those questions that's straight out. Either you know it or you don't know it. All right, question number 2. Which of the following WAN technologies is associated with high latency? And then you have the possible answers. You have A, T1, B, satellite, 3, cable, D, OCX. So what is the clue in the question? This one actually has a clue in the question. And the clue is high latency. Right? And what does high latency mean? Delay. Right? So which one of these WAN technologies is associated with delay? Right? If you know what latency means, you kind of know the answer. And it's B, satellite. Right? In computers itself, but specifically this type of exam, there's kind of like your own language. There's kind of like a language right? There's a language, like a separate language, and it's not really like, oh, you got to learn Spanish, you got to learn German. No, it's like a whole new vocabulary that you have to know, and if you know it, it'll help you immensely in passing this exam, because you kind of have to know what latency means. If you don't know what latency means, you're not gonna get the answer. But if I say delay, right? You know what that is. So, all right, and now this. What if it's possible to get local fresh groceries delivered right to your front door? You can go to the gym in that free time. Well, Instacart gives unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. Way better than the other guys who nickel and dime you to death every time you use their app. Forget that one ingredient to make sancocho? Instacart can deliver it to your front door in as little as 1 hour. You can shop multiple stores, see deals in the area so you can save money, and every item is hand selected according to your preferences. No more green plátanos when you wanted yellow ones, and they keep your eggs safe too. To start your 14-day trial, please click the link in the show notes to let Instacart know that we sent you and to help support the show. Instacart. Never set foot in a grocery store again. All right, we're back. All right, let's tackle question 3. Question 3 is, a technician is helping a SOHO, which stands for small office, home office, determine where to install the new server. Which of the following should be considered first? And as you can see, first is capitalized, right? When you see something like first, what it's telling you is maybe, the one of the other choices or possible answers could be the right choice, but which one you should do first? That's what it's telling you. It's not telling you that only one of them is right and the other stuff you would never do. That's not what it's telling you. It's telling you which one should you do first. Now, there may be some that you never do, right? So that way it's easy. It makes it easier for you to kind of guess what the answer is. But this one is telling you which one will you do first. So out of these 4 possible answers, which one will you do first? And you have compatibility requirements, environment limitations, cable length, or equipment limitations. Right? Now, what are you doing here again? You are determining where to install the server. See? You're determining where to install the server. Which one of these should you do first? See how it's all about reading it, right? I can't emphasize that enough, guys, how you really have to read the question and take what they give you. Sometimes you got to dissect it, right? Determine where to install the server. So out of these possible choices, which one is the right answer? Well, the answer is B, environmental limitations, right? What does that mean? Well, where is it that you're going to put the server? Where? You have to have a spot for it. And not just a spot, like where you're going to put it, right? I had students for my security class. When I teach security, non-COVID era, I would have my students search out a company, a small company, and then go to that small company and see, how they are doing their security. One kid told me that they had the server right outside the bathroom, like a travel agency. It was a travel agency, and they do taxes and stuff like that. Small business. They had the server on the floor right outside of the bathroom, where you go use the bathroom, you could actually kick it. He said, you could, if you want, you could kick it, you could unplug it, like there's nothing there. That's not a good place to put a server, right? So environmental limitations. Where are you going to put it? You got to make sure that you put it in a secure place where there's cool air flowing through it, right? You're not going to put it in a closet where it's stifling hot. That's not going to work. So that's the first thing you have to determine is, where am I going to put it? Where am I going to put it that's secure, that's not going to get hot, that I can have access to it, all that stuff. That's what you should, determine first. Yeah, cable length or equipment limitations, that's part of it. That's part of the installation process. But which one should you do first? Is you want to see where you're going to install it. Where is it going to go? Where in the office is it going to be a good fit? All right, last one. When configuring a new server, a technician requests that an MX record be created in DNS for the new server, but the record was not entered properly. Which of the following was most likely installed that required an MX record to function properly? A, load balancer, B, FTP server, C, firewall DMZ, and D, mail server. Well, there's a clue right in the question. And in almost every question that I've seen in CompTIA, when this clue comes up, this is like 90% what the answer is. If you see the word MX, which stands for mail exchange, right? The answer always has to do with emails, mail server, right? That's the answer. So the answer is D, mail server. But MX, that's the clue. The clue in this answer is MX. Anytime you see MX, look for, one of the possible answers to be something to do with email or mail server, or something to that effect. These are strategies that work. And I've only showed you, 4 questions. We only did 4 questions on networking, 4 questions on A+. I'll probably do another one with security. But you see what I'm showing you, right? I'm showing you how you pass these type of exams. By employing these strategies, you could pass, right? I've been teaching this for 4 years, and these are strategies that I've seen throughout, my teaching. So I hope these strategies are able to be useful for you. I'll try to do one on security, because I know that's a hard exam that people have a lot of trouble with, and I also want to do another one on the new networking exam that's coming out. And remember, guys, whenever CompTIA comes out with a new exam, they run both the new and the old parallel for 6 months. What does that mean? That means you have the option to take, when you go in and you sign up through Pearson to take the exam, you have the option. Do you want to take the new one or you want to take the old one for 6 months? And then after 6 months, you have to take the new one. So if you've taken one of my classes and you've taken networking the last 2 or 3 months, don't worry. You still have, until 6 months after networking plus, I think it's 8 comes out. They'll both run it parallel. And then you have to switch to the other one. So if you have the older material, you can still use that. But just remember that it's, you have a limited window of what you can do. All right, guys, that's going to do it all for today. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. That's right. We're in 2022. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. This has been a presentation of Little Chacha Productions, art by Sarah, music by Chocom. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at ProfessorJRod@gmail.com.